What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode of the podcast. Welcome to Dieting from the Inside Out. This is the official rebrand episode of the podcast. To be honest with you, I thought I was just going to change the name and rebrand the podcast and stuff, and not really make a point to talk about why I'm doing that or anything like that. So, but then again, I really thought it'd be good to give you kind of my thought process behind it and why the podcast rebrand, why the name is changing, and everything like that. Because for me, at the end of the day, the podcast has changed over the years. Like we're on 200 something episodes right now of the podcast. And it's been the Hamilton Trained podcast because that's just what I named it when it started. Everything was just Hamilton Trained. But what's interesting is this is why one of the reasons I talk about with your identity and who you are and, reinventing yourself is at any point in time, you can go through a personal rebrand, right? You don't have to be a business owner. You don't have to be doing anything like that or your own podcast, but you can go through your own personal identity rebrand about who you are, what you believe, this served me before, but this doesn't serve me now, whatever the case is. And that's what I did with the podcast. I'm you know what? The podcast, it does, we don't talk about what we used to. I still cringe at when people I listened to the first 100 episodes and I'm I'm so sorry. To be honest with you, I really want to go and delete them because they sound that bad, but enough people tell me they help a lot. And I just think it's good to watch the growth of myself in the show. So that's, to be honest, why I've kept them. I regret deleting all of my original Instagram content before I started posting about fat loss and transformation and stuff like that. So we're keeping them all, but the podcast is going to be under a new name. So the podcast is officially Dieting from the Inside Out. And I want to talk to you a little bit about why that's the case. I actually made me notes for once. So if you're watching the YouTube video, you see my head going back and forth. I'm just trying to keep on track with my notes and whatnot. Also, if that's the other thing that I've done recently, if you guys enjoy watching your podcast opposed to listening to your podcast, you should absolutely go subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Jared Hamilton. It's down below in case you just want the link because now I'm recording all of them. So that way they're on YouTube. That way, if you would rather just watch them instead of just listen to them, that's there for you. Now, before we get into the nitty gritty, let's definitely give a big plug and thank you to the sponsors because that's not changing. Visual sponsors of the show, Flex Pro Meals. Thank you so much, guys. They keep me taken care of because my life is crazy and I don't like it's unpredictable and things are all over the place. So knowing that I always have food in my fridge and knowing that it's in line with my goals, it's made by a chef, it tastes good, it ships to my door every month is pretty legit, and it keeps me out of drive-through, so I save quite a bit more money. So massive thank you to them. I'll leave a link below, flexpromeals.com. I'm telling you, you will be shocked if you look at their menu and that they actually have these things on there. But also I would love to save you some money if you're into that. So if you do go purchase anything, use my code Hamilton Trained. That code is staying the same, even though the podcast is rebranded. I don't know. I might get a hold of them and ask if they can change that. But either way, right now, Hamilton Trained is the promo code. So if you're into saving money, then a massive thank you to sponsor number 2, which is First Form. I am still rocking my favorite clothing, which is my First Form Christmas sweater t-shirt. Shelby hates it, but I love it. I have 2 or 3 of these. I love the First Form Christmas sweater t-shirt. It's the best. So, but massive thank you to First Form. Guys, I'm telling you, that it's when in the world of supplements, they have their time and their place. They are not the end all be all, but they absolutely serve their purpose. And whether you're just taking protein powder because you have trouble getting your intake in, or whether your recovery is trash and you need to be on the stack, like the joint stuff, the creatine, the protein, the glycogen replacement, whatever it is. I just love having one place where I know I can send clients and where I know I can personally go to and I'm taken care of. I actually just spoke to some people at their HQ yesterday and whatnot, and it's the best experience ever. You guys will work with them and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're writing handwritten notes. I can't believe they're doing this and that. It's just crazy. So definitely if you are into that and want to check out their stuff and maybe upgrade what you're taking, go check out the link below. My link has a free shipping link attached inside of it. No special codes, just use my link. And number 1, it does support me, but it also will save you some money, hopefully on some shipping. So definitely go check them out. But now, anywho, let's get into the contents of today's episode. So why the rebrand? Because my thing is this, just because everything goes through its different phases in life and it's different things like that. And I just felt like the chapter of the Hamilton Trained podcast came to a close, especially with what we're talking about now. right? Because at the end of the day, like we don't really talk about here, even across the board in my content, much more about like the 18,000 ways to make a calorie deficit, or the best way to optimize your glutes, or, you know, what these kinds of things. Because like we talked about before, and those of that have been around for a minute, you guys have heard my fire pit story. Sorry, mental block for a second. And I'll recap it really quickly here for you if you don't know it. So right about, I don't know, from the time of filming this, maybe 3.5 years ago, basically right before COVID happened. Not that COVID is related, but like to give you guys a timestamp, right? So I was not feeling good about where things were at. Like, don't get me wrong, business was great, clients were great, things were good, but all of a sudden, what once felt light and fun, like in terms of the content and the information I put out every day, started to feel heavy and started to not feel very good. I felt like I was just going through the motions. I wasn't enjoying what I was doing and posting and things like that. And so a mentor of mine years ago always hammered into my head, like, when you are feeling that way, you need to get quiet. And then even the material I study right now, like all the books I'm reading and the people I'm learning from are like, hey, just go sit with yourself and see what comes up. We all have this inner wisdom. And most of the time when we're struggling, we just need to go sit with that inner wisdom and we'll get the answers we need. So I decided to take this to an extreme. Instead of just like meditate, sit for an hour, I rented an Airbnb for the weekend by myself. So here in Indiana, it's not hard to find a farm. So I basically went and rented an Airbnb for a weekend on a farm. I took my own little sabbatical and didn't take Shelby, literally just like, I just took off, like told her obviously what I was doing. But I went by myself so I could just sit and be with myself and get my thoughts out and just like have some space. It was peaceful as fuck. It was beautiful. There was a couple ponds. It was a farm. It was a little farm. So there's like a mini horse. There's some cats. It was out in the woods. It was beautiful. So I did that. And I call this my fire pit moment because this is where so much of this happened. So I was sitting, somehow I managed to get my inner Boy Scout on and started a fire that kept itself going, which was a miracle in and of itself. But I was sitting at this fire pit for like 3 hours. Right. Cause like a long time, like 2 or 3 hours, I'm just sitting in silence, just watching the fire, because my thing is, I'm like, I don't feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing anymore. I didn't feel like what I've been like, I feel called to do it's just something doesn't feel right. Something feels heavy. And when that happens, we need to pay close attention. We don't want to just go, oh, this is what I've always done, and then push through it. So I'm like, okay, what do people need right now? Because like, I just felt like the content I was putting out, the way I structured my business, it's not what people needed. So I'm like, what do people need? Because here's the thing, ironically speaking, whenever someone would come to coach, we're ready to go into fat loss. We were ready to just get them to lose weight. But all of a sudden I found all these other issues they were having. It's like, oh, she's binge eating. We got to get through that before we go into weight loss. And like, all right, someone sign on, like, all right, let's do this. Oh shit, they're emotional eating. Okay, we got to fix that. Okay, we fix that. Then let's go into weight loss. And then let's say like we did it where they're losing weight. It's like, oh, they have identity issues that's causing them to sabotage and ruin everything. Okay, we got to fix that. I found myself, most people, we had to do all this groundwork, like around their inner game, right? And I never really talked about it in content very much. I never really explained to people how we coach until they're in our coaching realm. And I never explained, I was just always talking about like calorie deficit, sustainable weight loss, which is great. But then I found this extra fire inside of me for talking about these inner game issues. And that's what like lit me on fire, like teaching like, all right, here's how to combat emotional eating. Here's how to stop sabotage. Here's how to get your headspace right so you quit unconsciously sabotaging. Hey, here's how we can implement these habits mentally that make it frictionless on top when it comes to actually executing them. And it's one of those things where that's what I was doing. So I had this epiphany moment. I'm like, man, I remember thinking at this fire pit, I'm like, man, I just wish there's this gap in the middle. It's like you have hardcore weight loss and diet culture way over here, but then you have at the same time, like therapy, inner work, mindfulness, headspacey stuff over here. I'm like, there's a gap missing. There should be where both of these worlds come together, because I would notice everything people struggled with has nothing to do with weight loss. If you binge eat, we can't fix that with more calorie restriction. If you're sabotaging, we can't fix that with just work harder. If you know what to do but don't do it, a more complex workout isn't going to fix your issues, right? So I'm like, man, I feel like there's a middle ground no one's talking about. And ironically, we had been coaching in it once people are in our system. But like at the same time, I'm like, there's this realm no one's talking about. Because like, let's say even like, I'm not saying what we do is a replacement for therapy. I would never say that. I'm in therapy. I think everyone should go to therapy. But there's even a level of like, if the weight loss stuff is triggering to someone, and I don't know any therapists, and I've never heard of therapy that specialize in weight loss related issues, right? Again, I am not saying this is a substitution for therapy. It's not what I'm saying at all. But then I also noticed a running theme where therapists kept hiring me. I was like, oh, well, now one of our bigger demographics of people we work with, like, okay, a therapist hired me for their food issues. Oh, another therapist hired me because they're having their issues with getting their shit together. Oh, another therapist is hiring me. Oh, now social workers are hiring me. And like, oh shit, like I noticed this is what was happening. It's like, oh, now me and my whole team now are working with different therapists and social workers and people who understand deep-rooted psychology who are having problems. I'm like, okay, interesting. And I'm like, I'm just digesting all of this. And then I'm sitting in this fire pit and all these things are running through my head. And I'm like, man, I just wish maybe someone should come, like there should be some gap in the middle. That gap in the middle is not being taken care of. And I go, I could fix that. Literally, we could do that. But then I instantly had imposter syndrome. I'm like, who am I? Why? How could I do it? Who do I think I am? Like, this is so outside of my comfort zone. I'm going to get made fun of. I'm going to get all this stuff. But I'm like, no, this is what I feel like drawn to. This feels light. What I was talking about felt heavy, right? Like if you said, Jared, go make a post on the 5 ways to train your glutes. I'm like, okay. But if you said, Jared, tell me the 4 reasons why we binge eat. I'm like, let me tell you. Then I'm like, oh, this is interesting. So I'm leaning into my intuition and my like inner guidance of what feels better. And that's what I was. So that's where this came from. And then this is where it gets really trippy. You might say this is a coincidence. You might say that just happens, but I don't care. I'm going to tell you this. And it was trippy as fuck. So I got that clarity when I was in this fire pit moment. That was a moment where everything shifted for me. I'm like, okay, this is what I need to do. Well, then I wanted to go into town. I wanted to do some other stuff. So I wanted to get away from the fire. So I put water all over the fire and put the fire out because naturally I know what can happen with fires. And this is not my property. This was Airbnb. I wanted to make sure that fire was out. So not only did I pour water all over it, but then I poured more water. And I made sure this motherfucker was out. Well, like 2 or 3 hours later, I'm like over by one of the ponds. And I'm second guessing because this is what happens. Anytime you make big moves in life, like now sabotage kicks in, now that inner bitch voice, now the resistance, now doubting, now imposter syndrome sets in. And I'm like, oh man, maybe I'm not supposed to do this. You know what? Who am I? I don't know. Well, here's what's crazy. Right when I started second guessing all of that stuff, that fire went woof and it came back. And I'm like, oh, and I had the most, I get chills talking about this. I had the most indescribable feeling that went over my whole body. Like, I get chills just talking about it. Like, I had this epiphany of like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Then after I made that decision and a realization, I went away and to do other stuff. And now as soon as I start second guessing and worrying and wondering, the fire that I put out hours ago, that I poured all sorts of water over, ironically, when I started having this imposter syndrome and I started second guessing, this fire just went woof and came back. And ironically, I have felt this feeling I've never had. This, I don't know, saying felt tingly, felt doesn't even do it justice. This overwhelming surge through my entire body. And in that moment, I'm like, okay, God, got it. This is what I'm supposed to be. Okay. All right, I won't second guess it anymore. Sorry. Like, I'm telling you. And then ever since I made that decision, because again, like I built my following and by all this other stuff. So it's really scary, guys, from the business perspective and from a social media perspective with these big following numbers, leaning into this kind of perceived as airy fairy hopey dopey stuff. But I'm like, you know what? This is where I feel like I'm supposed to be at. My signs are there, whatever you want to call it. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to do it. And that's where dieting from the inside out content started to come about. And that's where that came from. But I just wanted to give you the whole story because it's a pretty neat story, I think. So here's the thing, like, why is it important? Why does it matter? Here's why. This is the whole reason why this content even matters. I ask this all the time now. Let me ask you this. If you had a magic, if like, think of the amount of weight you're trying to lose. Think of the result you want. You want to like lose 50 pounds, just hypothetically. That's what you want. If I could magic genie, snap my fingers right now, and the 50 pounds comes off of you, would you be good? Some of you are saying yes, but you're lying. But most of you that are watching or listening to this will go, oh no, I would still be binge eating. I'd still be emotional eating. I'd still be sabotaging. I have no idea how to keep it off. I'd still be filled with uncertainty and overwhelm. I don't know how I would even begin to approach social situations. I'd still not be consistent. I would literally sabotage and ruin it all. That's what most people say. Because again, we're saying, if I could snap my fingers and your weight just comes off, would you be good? And most people, again, say, no, not at all, because of all these other problems. So here's my thing then. My question is, if magic won't fix your problem, why are you so obsessed with trying to make it happen in white knuckle through weight loss when you literally just said Aladdin's magic genie would not fix your problems? My logical brain says, well, why don't we fix all those problems that it doesn't fix? Then ironically, weight loss doesn't have to suck on the other side. Ironically, I don't want to say it will be effortless, but it will be way easier and way more doable and way more sustainable if we get rid of those things that it doesn't fix. Okay. Welcome to dieting from the inside out. This is, because here's the thing, your problems, this is the problem and the dichotomy most people are stuck in. Everything you struggle with has nothing to do with weight loss. If you're binge eating, if you're emotional eating, if you're sabotaging, if you know what to do but don't do it, if you have consistency issues, if you have discipline issues, if your identity is fucked up, if your relationship with food is fucked, if you are overridden with food guilt, if you're scared to eat, all of that stuff, if you have mental health problems around weight loss, right? If you're a constant self-deprecative person around this stuff, here's the thing. All those issues, which you would probably agree are the things that's keeping you from losing weight, right? But ironically, more weight loss does not fix those things, right? If you binge eat, does more calorie deficit fix it? No. If you are not disciplined, does a more complex strength training protocol fix it? No. If you know what to do but don't do it, is working harder the answer? No. If you have horrible food relationships where you're scared to eat chocolate or more than 1,200 calories, does dieting harder or doing more cardio answer or fix the problem? No. So here's the thing. If all of your issues are what's stopping you from that, all these things are what's stopping you from losing weight. It's not that you have the weird metabolism that can't burn fat. No, if you're doing that whole list and there's a bigger list behind it, right? If that's what's stopping you from losing weight, and we can't fix those issues with more weight loss. But here's the hard part. Those issues only trigger when you go to lose weight, don't they? You only struggle with binge eating on the foods you've gotten rid of because you're on a diet. You only struggle with, you struggle with emotional eating because you don't know how to handle your emotions separately from food. So when you go to lose weight, it gets worse, right? When you know what to do but don't do it, you're talking about your workouts and eating right and your nutrition. You're not talking about going to work and taking care of your kids. So you have all these issues that you cannot fix with more weight loss, but they only get triggered when you go to lose weight. Hell, to be honest with you guys, I know of people who have literally told me to my face, they have separated this stuff solely from weight loss and like went and worked with like a not weight loss coach, whether it be a therapist or a food freedom coach or a whatever. And they separated it from weight loss entirely and they got their shit together. Then when they came back to weight loss, all those issues triggered back. So here's the problem. We can't focus on weight loss we can't white knuckle through weight loss and not work on those, but we can't separate these issues entirely from weight loss because weight loss triggers these problems. Let me ask you this. If you're scared of heights, can you get over that fear of heights without getting on anything tall? The answer is no, right? I can be zen as fuck at the bottom of a ladder. If you're scared of heights, you can be zen as fuck at the bottom or on the ground. But ironically, heights are what trigger your fear of heights. So the only way, how do we go over to fear of heights? You have to slowly incorporate yourself in the realm of heights. You can't get over the fear of heights by information or by just meditation on the ground, right? These issues around food and weight loss and yourself are the exact same way. We can't just burrow through weight loss and put these issues like, oh, we'll deal with them later. But we have to deal with these in a very appropriate way, in the kind of ways that I talk about, in the realm of weight loss, because they're triggered when you go to lose weight. This is the conglomerate everyone's in. And this is why most people take their struggles to the grave with them, if we're being honest. because this is why dieting from the inside out. This is why the rebrand. This, to be honest, guys, this is why like our first stage in our coaching program is called dieting from the inside out. Like honest to God, like literally when we work with someone, when someone comes on board with coaching, literally our coaching program is 3 stages. It's called stage 1 is called dieting from the inside out. It's where we work through all of this stuff. It's where we fix the binge eating, stop the emotional eating, end sabotage, fix your relationship with food, get you to eat more calories without freaking out, fix your anxiety around the scale, fix your knowing doing gap, fixing your discipline problems, fixing your consistency problems. That's what we do in dieting from the inside out, the very first stage of coaching, because then we can go into weight loss. Stage 2 for us is called the fat loss accelerator. It's where we can actually now focus on weight loss. It's where people drop inches, the pounds come off, their clothes fit better, their hairdresser's like, damn girl, what'd you do? Like, you look great. That's where all that stuff happens. But here's the thing though, like the genie question I asked earlier, if a magic genie would not solve your problems, we need to quit trying to white knuckle through weight loss. You see what I mean? This is why I've always said you have to earn the right to lose weight. So when people start coaching with us, we don't let them go right into weight loss. If it happens, because let's be honest, stopping binge eating is a hell of a calorie deficit. So you have to understand that when people coach with us, if they're going through all those issues, like the binging, the emotional eating, the sabotage, food relationships, the whole 9 yards, we're not going to just push them through weight loss because we know, like the genie question, they'd fuck it up. Who cares if you lose the 50 pounds, if sabotage ruins it, if binge eating ruins it, if your identity causes the sabotage, right? Whatever it is. So I've always said you have to earn the right to lose weight. Here, and this is an unpopular opinion, but let me ask you this. If you're building a house, let's say you're having a custom home build and there's no foundation in place. Do you have a right to throw the walls and the ceiling on yet? Everyone says no, because what would happen if you do? It will crumble. So here's the thing. If you are honest to God, ask yourself this. If you're binge eating, if you're emotional eating, if you're sabotaging, if you know what to do, but don't do it, if you have discipline issues, if you have consistency problems, if you have shitty food relationships, do you have a right to lose weight yet? No. Because what if you do? Those results will crumble. Welcome to your diet history for most people listening or watching this. This is the hard part. It's not sexy to go, oh, we got to fix your inner foundation. That's not sexy at all. It's hard to sell that. But here's the thing. That's what's stopping you from losing weight, right? Think about the foundation of a house. It's not sexy. It's not pretty. It's buried. It's underground. But it is pivotal. Without it, your whole house will crumble on itself. And that's the thing. You can never build anything sustainable or long-term if it's caving in on itself without a foundation. This is the biggest thing. Whether you ever, if you're not going to take anything from this episode ever, the only thing I want you to take from this, if you don't take anything else, is that fixing your inner foundation in these inner game issues as it applies to weight loss is the secret sauce. This is what will change everything for you. That's literally it. That is what will change everything. Change absolutely everything. So, because at the end of the day, don't get me wrong, calories are important. Yes. Workouts are important. Yes. Weight loss is important. Healthy food, all that. Yes. All that stuff is important, but everything, all this other shit that you struggle with, that's keeping you from losing weight, has nothing to do with any of this, right? Like you have to, if you don't fix these issues, if you don't fix how you view food, your relationship with yourself, your identity, your knowing what to do, but not doing it, your consistency problems, your all of these things, how you hide emotions with food. If you don't address and fix all of that, you'll never lose weight. You can have the best program in the calorie deficit and macro split and workout plan in the world, but it's not going to matter because all these inner game issues are going to sabotage and ruin it all. Because like I said, even in our one-on-one coaching program, this is what our number one thing is before we even let someone go into weight loss, because it doesn't matter. They're going to ruin it. Who cares if you, like you said, like you most likely agreed when I said, if a magic genie magically made all the weight that you're trying to lose go away, would you be good? And most people said, yeah, no, I wouldn't be good. Most people I ask that to say, yeah, no, absolutely not. I would not be good. Well, then let's fix all of those issues first. Then we can focus on weight loss. Hopefully that makes sense. So now I do have because of this is the big podcast rebrand around this stuff. I do have a special offer for just you that listen to the podcast. This is not going anywhere else. You're not going to see this on my email list, on my Instagram, on my TikTok. This is just going to be for you here that are listening to the podcast, because in honor of the rebrand, but then also because if you're listening to an episode titled Dieting from the Inside Out and have made it this far, I'm guessing that you're struggling. I'm guessing that you're probably feeling like this content's resonating. You're like, oh, wow, that's a good point. I do struggle with that. I do struggle with that. I do struggle with that. But then I'm guessing you also, I could be wrong, but I'm guessing you also aren't quite sure how to fix that stuff. Well, here's the thing. I know exactly how to fix it. That's what everything that we do within coaching, in my courses and things like that is all about. So I have a couple special offers for you action takers who are like, you know what, I really want help. I really want to fix this because this has been a struggle for years or decades and I can't get on the other side of it. So this is for you. So here's the special offer. I have 2 different offers. Okay. So pay close attention. And like I said, in honor of the rebrand, I have a special that I'm going to do for you guys. I'm going to give away this is for anyone that's listening to the podcast. I'm going to give away a really cool bundle of stuff. I'm going to give away my entire 180 Academy. Like I'm telling you, like if you guys aren't familiar with what my 180 Academy is, long story short, it's a $2,000 video course. Literally, it's normally like $2,000. It is like all these issues that I mentioned like food relationships, binge eating, emotional eating, sabotage, knowing, doing, gap, identity, mental health and fat loss, all of that. I literally have a module in that for every single issue. It's like a 20 module course that will change your life, legitimately change your life. Like it's like I have people who go through like 2 modules of the 20 and they're like ROI achieved. Life is totally changed. It's huge. It's why it's normally like $2,000. Every single module is one of these problems. Like knowing, doing, gap, got you. Food relationships, got you. Emotional eating, got you. Binge eating as a whole, got you. All of these things I have a module for, and it'll change with tactics and homework and specifics that it'll change your life. So I'm going to be giving that. Then I'm also going to give you lifetime access to my Psychology of Fat Loss mentorship. It's my paid mentorship group that is basically set aside for just my Psychology of Fat Loss members, but also clients. So this is not just a free group everyone's in, like my other group that has like over 4,000 people in it. This is a much tighter knit group with way more serious people because there's buy-in. Now, here's the thing. I normally charge like a couple $1,000s a year, like $2,400 a year to be part of this mentorship group. But with this special offer, I'm giving you lifetime access to that for free. Inside that group, there are Zoom calls twice a week with me personally, where I'm doing these live Zoom calls where you and I can interact and talk. And I'm going to give more of this kind of information because this is deeper level content. But then there's also more fitnessy stuff in there. There's like nutrition frameworks. There is workouts in there. There's tutorial videos. All that stuff is in there because we're dealing with higher level people. Okay. Next, to make it even better, I'm going to throw you on a call with me. Like a one-on-one private for anyone who goes, yes, I'm going to do this. You literally are going to get a one-on-one private call with me. Might kind of sound like an asshole thing to say, but like normally those cost $500. Like if someone just hits me up on Instagram, is like, Jared, I want to pick your brain. Can we talk? A coaching call with me is at this point in my life right now is like $500 for a coaching call. So I'm going to be throwing that in totally for free. Right. So all of that stuff together is normally like, I don't know, like $4,900, right around $5,000 worth of stuff. Between the academy, it's normally a couple $1,000s. The mentorship group, that's normally like another $2,400 a year, let alone you're getting lifetime access. And then to make icing on the cake, you get a private one-on-one call with me as well. Like I said, that's normally like around $5,000 worth of stuff. Because of the rebrand, I'm giving all of that away for just $997. So a one-time payment of $997. So literally like a fifth of the price. I'm giving that all away. That's all you have to invest in yourself to get all of this stuff. Because then I would ask, because a lot of people go, oh shit, Jared, that's still like $1,000. Like, yeah, I totally get it. But let me ask you this. If you could swipe your card right now for $1,000 and get rid of your binge eating, get rid of your emotional eating, get rid of your sabotage, which now you get rid of all that stuff, the whole list of knowing what to do but not doing it, like all the problems that we've been talking about. If you could swipe your card and not only all of those go away, that'd be worth the money. But then because of that, now you're going to lose all the weight you want to lose. Now you love the way you look. You love the way you feel. All your clothes fit. You're a better example to your kids. You get to live longer. Guys, I'm telling you, like literally, like for $1,000, you get all of that stuff. It's kind of a no-brainer, like in my opinion. Like, yeah, I'm the one selling it, but honest to God, this is what it takes for you to move forward. Because if what you've been doing on your own hasn't been working, this is a proven system. right? It's logical. Even me walking through this, most of you are like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So for those of you that are ready to change, I don't want to like my things. I don't want to sell you, right? I hate it. I don't want to sell you on this stuff. And then like you regret it 2 days later because you were emotional in the state. I want you to decide logically for yourself. Nope, that makes sense. I want to do it. So for those that are ready, that's the offer that's on the table. Now, for those of you that are really ready, who want a little bit more, here's the second offer I have for you. So for those of you that would actually be like, let's say the concept of how I talked about how our coaching program works, like really like resonate. You're like, oh shit, I would have a coach working with me through all of this stuff, through the dieting from the inside out stuff. Then we get to go into weight loss stuff. Then I didn't even tell you our third stage is called our lifestyle optimization stage, where we're going to teach you how to keep the weight off forever and how to optimize your life with these newfound results. So you don't have the identity of a dieter in and of ruining everything. Okay. Now, I'll just say this. Now for coaching, for one-on-one coaching, you have to apply. It does require a phone call. That way we can make sure things are a good fit and it makes sense. But I'll put it this way. If you apply for coaching and get accepted, you get all of that stuff I just said for free. So if you apply for coaching from this episode and get accepted, you're going to get my entire 180 Academy for free. You're going to get a lifetime access to the Psychology of Fat Loss Mentorship for free. You'll even get the call with me for free, even if you're working with one of my other coaches. So that's the deal that's on the table. So no pressure by any means. Don't ever feel like obligated to buy any of my shit. But for those that are ready to go to the next level and want help, I will leave a link in the description to basically set up that call. So what's going to happen for those of you that want the latter, they're like, I'd be really interested in one-on-one coaching. Then what's going to happen is before we can do any of that, we require a phone call. That way we can interview you to see kind of where you're at. You learn about you and your goals and make sure this is a good fit, because my rule of thumb is if we can't 180 your life, I don't want your money. Okay. That's we only work with people we know we can help. So there's a link in the description where you can get on a call with my team. That way they can talk with you. You'll get on a call with my coaching specialist. That way they can kind of talk with you and get a feel for where you're at and what your life looks like and your goals. And then assuming they're like, yep, you check the boxes, let's do this, then they'll go over options with you. And then, like I said, once you get accepted into the program, you'll get all that stuff for free just by nature of signing up. So that's the offers that's on the table right now. So hopefully if that makes sense, it makes sense. But then if you have questions, never hesitate to reach out or shoot me or my team an email and we'll be glad to help. But otherwise, guys, this is the rebrand episode. I hope you got a lot out of this. Be sure if you have not subscribed to the podcast, wherever you're listening to, do so. Go check out the YouTube and definitely go check out the resources below. But otherwise, I love you and I'll talk to you soon.